I've run into maybe 15, 20 guys that claim to have been our stunt guys.
Oh, sure.
That did the stunt work for us. Said, oh, yeah, I was Burt Reynolds' stunt man. And, oh, yeah, I did that stuff for Jon. And what most people don't realize is that we did all of that stunt work ourselves. And none of us thought we were going to be in trouble. It's like you said. We thought we'd be okay. And then
well, I think you were dealing with actors that weren't the brightest actors in the world.
There are many things that, when I think of Deliverance, and of course it's 40 years down the road, and when we first made the film, we didn't, we had high hopes, of course, all of us, but didn't know we would be in a classic movie that would be lasting all this long, and the, new audiences picking up on it even to this day and being played around the world. And there are many reasons for it, a great script, from a wonderful book, a brilliant director. But one of the things that magnetizes people to this piece, it seems to me, is the chemistry between the four performers, us. And it was very, very interesting how all this happened. I mean, we had a wonderful, perceptive fellow who was the director of this piece and was going in search of the proper cast and had a very strong idea about it. And then we had Lynn Stallmaster as a casting director who did such a wonderful job, mainly with all the other actors. But Jon was focused on putting this together. Now, we all have stories about how this came together.
Well, I talked briefly with Lynn Stallmaster and with John Boorman.
Which was very unusual, that people went, out of the casting places of Hollywood into
you were never
into
in a movie
theater.
Before.
I'd never been in front of a camera before.
And these guys were mostly repertory people.
Yeah, I was working for
the East.
Lynn Stallmaster called up Joe Papp in New York and asked him to recommend actors. And I think I was the first actor they saw in New York, and not because I was at the top of anyone's list. I was so far at the bottom of the list that they wanted me to come in for a pre-meeting just to see if I was worth seeing. And I met with Lynn. He liked me, and came back, and I met with Jon 2 or 3 more times during that week. They were considering doing the whole film with unknown actors because John Boorman didn't want any character to be safe, because in those days, if you had a big star, you were pretty sure he was going to make it through the film. And he wanted all of these characters to be at risk. So they flew 18 of us to California and tested us. And out of 18 actors, I was the only one they liked. And then a couple of weeks later, they called up Ned in Washington, D.C.
And you guys had remarkably worked together many seasons at the Arena Stage in Washington, D.C.
We'd been friends for 6 years, and they didn't even know we knew each other.
It's a good thing you didn't know, Ronnie.
That's right.
That could have, don't even think about it. Could have kept us out of the whole thing, you know what I'm saying? How many guys have you known that will give up their part one night so their understudy can go on?
Ned did that. I was his understudy in King Lear, and he went off one night because he said, Ronnie, I want you to go and play this role. So then Ned and I were, we were waiting around for you guys.
It was interesting. Jon and I had met, John Boorman and I had met, and I told him that I was, in the beaten way. You meet directors, and it was at some award show, and I said, you're a great director. I'd love to work with you. And you say that to people who, it's a spontaneous thing. He said, I'd like to work with you too. And a couple of years later, or a year or so later, I get a call from John Boorman, and it's about Deliverance. And they sent me the script, and I couldn't get past the rape scene. I'd read it to that point, and then I'd put it away, and I just, it didn't interest me in some way. It scared me a little bit. So finally I get a call from Jon, and he says, have you read the script? I said, well, John, I took a look at it. He said, have you read the script all the way through? I said, well, no. He said, look, I want you to read the script, and then I'm going to call you, and you'll tell me if you like it or not. And he told me at that time that he had 2 actors from repertory theater that he really was keen on. He wanted to do it younger, and he wanted to do it with Burt Reynolds. He said, got this actor, Burt Reynolds. I said, I know Burt. He said, I think he's perfect for the part. I'd like to have you play the part of Ed. I said, okay, John. And I didn't know what to do. I knew what to do. I had to go read the script now. And as I'm going through, there was this one section when Ed's climbing, and he looks out. He's going up to perhaps have to shoot somebody, defend his life, maybe die. And he looks out over this nighttime vista, and he sees the moon reflected on the waterfall, and he says, Christ, what a view. And that one line, I thought to myself, I can see myself saying that. So the next day, John calls me, and in my fashion, you know, my cerebral fashion and my doubting fashion and whatever fashion you guys all know me as at that time and maybe now too, John says, well, what do you think? Did you read the script? I said, yeah, I read it, John. And he said, well, what do you think? And I said, well, you know, it's interesting. He said, look, John, I'm going to count to 10. 1, 2, 3. And finally I said, I'll do it. And then I was brought in to meet Mr. Reynolds.
Well, I met Jon Voight, but I had met Jon Voight when I was doing Gunsmoke. He had done a couple episodes, and liked him as an actor. I thought this could work because there's some kind of chemistry here. And John Boorman just wanted us to play around with the lines, just to see if there was some chemistry, some undercurrent going on. And there was immediately. I mean, immediately there was, which John and I have always had, this playful kind of competition that also in the movie, Lewis had that. My character, Lewis, is competitive with everybody about everything, about who can get in the canoe, who can get down there quicker, who's going to arrive at the place and all that. And also it sets up the fact that has no trepidation about killing this man that rapes you. So I was eager to do the picture, excited to do it, had no idea when I left that little building if I was going to do it or not. All I know is I got a phone call either that night or the next day saying, you're going to do it. I didn't know that when we met 40 years ago, that we'd be setting 40 years from then talking about a movie. I've done a lot of movies, probably 60, 70 movies. 50 of them, I don't have a picture of them in this building. 10 of them are okay, pretty good. But Deliverance is a whole corner of the room here because it meant that much to me. It was my ticket out of television into movies. And I had a pretty good ride in movies because of it.
Don't you feel that the Deliverance was cast about as well as any film has ever been cast? I mean, the fact that John Boorman and Lynn Stallmaster found those incredible actors down in Clayton, Georgia.
Yeah. There was the two villains in the piece. There was
Bill McKinney.
And then they were looking for the fellow who would, the toothless guy, right?
Yeah.
So John had raised the question, and Burt said, I think I may know someone that could fill that in. So go ahead.
Well, I worked at this little place called Ghost Town in North Carolina, where I got shot every day on the hour and fell off the roof and landed in some rocks and got $100 a week cash or something. But I remember the guy who played Pa Clanton. He was a wonderful actor, but he couldn't read or write, and he stuttered a lot. But he was a wonderful actor, wonderful actor. So I said, I know a guy, John. If I can get a hold of him, I'll call Ghost Town. Maybe they know where he is. This was a long time ago. It was 10 years ago. So I called Ghost Town. I said, do you know what happened to Cowboy Coward? And they said, yeah, he's right here. They called him. He came in, he got on the phone. I said, Cowboy, if you can come down to Maggie Valley, at the Holiday Inn, there might be a part for you in the picture. And he said, well, don't forget to tell him that I can't read. I said, don't worry about that. I'll tell him it's not going to be a problem. Don't worry about it. So we're sitting there, John and I, and we're waiting for Cowboy to drive up, and this Jeep pulls up with a passel of kids in the back, and a guy gets out with bib overalls, no shirt, and those long clodhoppers, no socks, walks up, and John said, did you tell him what to wear? And I said, no, I didn't tell him what to wear. He came in and he sat down. Everything's going pretty good, and then John said, hey, read this, Cowboy. And I thought, oh, damn, he forgot, you know. So I grabbed it, and I said, you don't have to read it, Cowboy. I'll tell you the line, and you improvise the line. I mean, you just say it any way you want to. The line is, get over there against that tree and take your pants down. So Cowboy said, get over there against that sapling and take your panties down. And John Boorman said, you got the part. So he gets up and he's walking towards the door, and John said, wait a minute, Cowboy, I have to tell you something. This is the part of a man who rapes another man. And Cowboy said, that's all right. I've done a lot worse things than that.
I want to say this about, because we all shared this understanding. Each one of us, when we came together, I think we had about 12 days in preparation, and most of that time was taken up with archery lessons and canoeing lessons and different kinds of things. But in the process, we got to know each other a little bit, and it was really apparent to me, from my standpoint, when I stepped on the set with you guys, I knew I was with pros. I knew that everybody could handle themselves, and they were right for the parts too. So I knew I was in a cast of folks that could deliver this film quite beautifully. So
I'll tell you one story I don't think you remember, which is very funny. We went out one day to see whether we could row a canoe. Not on the river, but on this little lake, there wasn't a ripple on the lake. We went out and we went, bloop, bloop. And there were two old prop guys standing over, and one guy turned to the other and went, we're going to be on this movie a long time.
What are we going to do with him?
There's not one thing to do. Take the body down to entry. Turn over the highway patrol. Tell them what happened.
Tell him what? Exactly.
It's just what happened. I mean, this is justifiable homicide, if anything is.
That movie changed all four of us.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, John had already been nominated for an Academy Award for Midnight Cowboy. He was already a major star.
Yeah, but he was just a kid.
But it affected him. The picture affected him, is what I'm saying. And the picture affected you and Ned. It changed everything for me.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question about that, Burt, because I have a lot of fun with that. It was obvious to me while we were doing that film, that you were on your way and you knew it. And there was a lot of buzz about other things about you because you'd just started going to the Johnny Carson show. I mean, your wonderful sense of humor, which everybody was just beginning to get a taste of. And then this idea in my mind that said, you knew that this was your ticket to where you wanted to get. You know, at one point you said, I'm in an A movie. You said this on Johnny Carson's show. I'm in an A movie now. Anyway, I felt that you were on your way and had a vision of the future.
Well, thank you. I feel strange saying this, but I felt that way too.
I want to know about you driving.
Well, there's a scene in the picture.
I know I laugh my butt off every time I see that film because I know what you guys went through.
Well, what was fun for John and I, number one, was that we didn't have a director in the car with us. We just had a camera on a gyroscope, right?
They put a gyroscope camera on the front of it. It was the first time they'd ever used it, I think, in front of this of our car, and they had it hooked up next to the headlights in the front. So we had the camera right in front of us, and we had to do the sound check and do everything, turn the camera on, and then and here's my stuntman best friend going to drive, and I'm looking at what we're going to drive through, and it is little trees. That's what's going to be. There was no road.
No, there was no road.
There was no road.
And
I'm trying to, you know, compute this, and the only way I could do is by have a sense of humor and it's going to be fun. And go ahead. And so Burt.
I must say you didn't say Burt. You kept saying Louis. Damn it, Louis! Damn it, Louis! Slow down, Louis! Damn it!
Louis! You're gonna kill us both, you son of a bitch, before we ever see you in the water!
And he goes forward, and we're driving, and I'm saying the lines, Louis, take it easy, will you, Louis? But I meant it. I really meant it. That was not acting. That was the best kind of acting. It was authentic. And then we hit this crater. I mean, it was, holy smokes! And the camera and the camera's still there. And what was the response? He starts laughing, and I start laughing.
Do you remember us preparing the scene that we were going to bury his body in the pool and weight him down so he wouldn't come popping up again? And John and I, we really worked hard on this. We improv'd and everything. And we got ready to do the scene. And we pushed the canoe out into the part of the river we're supposed to dump Ronny in. The water was not here. And you couldn't talk. You couldn't.
He was already under.
Yeah, but it was.
Where's the body?
But the thing about you, John, I think you caught on right away that you could talk to me, but I wasn't going to answer you at all.
You know what I also remember, which is pretty scary to think about? The guy that, attacks you, the man who,
Bill McKinney.
Bill McKinney. When I killed him with the arrow and we go to bury him, he was lying there. I mean, God, he was a wonderful
amazing
guy. I mean,
Well, Bill McKinney was an amazing guy. He was an amazing actor, and he was a tree surgeon. I mean, he had this job as a tree to keep him going, and he had these amazing abilities. One of the amazing abilities is nobody on film has ever kept their eyes open for the amount of time that he was able to do that
with mosquitoes.
In the crotch of this tree.
I saw a mosquito land on his eyeball. I saw it land on his eyeball, and he just kept it open.
They did one master take shooting over him, and pretty soon you couldn't watch anything but him because you kept saying he's got to blink sooner or later.
Right, and he never did.
Come on now, let's not do anything foolish. Anybody know anything about the law?
The great thing about the film being shot in sequence was the unusual aspect of that, so that you could get a sense of the flow of the scenes, know where you were all the time in the sequences.
One of my favorite scenes in the movie is when John's climbing up the mountain to get the mountain man up there. There's a wonderful close-up of him reaching and grabbing a rock, and it's just sort of a close-up of his hand. And they come in, and the face of his watch is clouded over from condensation because we've been in the water for all this time. But if we were just shooting this like a traditional movie, no one would ever think to cloud over that watch.
Well, the prop man would just hand him a new watch.
That's right, new watch.
Yeah, and the audience may not necessarily consciously pick up on the face of that watch being clouded over, but it just pays off in ways that other films don't.
You're gonna be all right. What the world happened to you guys?
Through Ballinger. Ballinger.
Did you look for him?
A long time.
These guys went through a war, and the guys who survived had that feeling of coming home. And when I walked into that dinner scene at the end, I remember John said, "You're going to come through several screens into this coming home." It was a beautiful, in that you see me outside, then you see me open one door and open another door and open the final screen door, and I finally come into this dinner place. So I come home, into civilization, into a warm place with food that smells good and people, chattering and laughing at a table, and it's some other place. And then Ned was there, and the way Ned handled that scene was so beautiful. It was moving.
I was kind of tied to you. I really was. And I remember when you came in, it was like sometimes your action is just so clear that you think, oh, what the hell, do it,
Yeah.
But it was like, I just wanted you to be able to stay together. I just, I know you're a great guy and all this. We've known each other for years. Our families have known each other.
Yeah.
Come on. These are wonderful people. The peas, have some, try the peas.
This nurturing thing.
Exactly. And that's what I was feeling.
Was so moving to me. And then it was very, and the scene is very memorable, very touching scene.
Ned and I went back to Clayton. We were doing something together, and we decided to go visit the place.
That's right.
And I remember saying to the guide, this is in a rubber wrap.
Yeah.
Be a little gentle, Mr. Beatty. This is a little hard for him to go down this river, and when we come to this little island, be a little gentle. And the guy was doing all right. We were flying, and he says, and right up here is Sodomy Creek. and it was over. I mean, I wanted to take the guy and throttle him and drown him. But Ned was all right. I mean, you got by it all right.
Yeah, it was kind of good. It was really, I know it was really good for me. I'm glad we did it.
I wanted to ask us all about how we felt when we finally saw the work in the theaters.
It's funny because I'd never done a film before, and it's hard to explain to kids. My two sons and Mary are actually in the film briefly. There's when John goes back to my car and flips down the visor, there's a picture of Mary and me and my two sons. So since they were in the film, I wanted them to see it. Now, my boys at that time were 11 and 6. So, I mean, I'm taking a real chance of taking my kids to see this film, but I got my courage and I was going to talk them through the rape scene and their dad getting killed and stuff like that. And I have to say, I was wrong. The kids got it. They're smart. I mean, they knew it was acting. They reached over and pinched me. I wasn't dead or anything like that. Yeah. And the funny thing, when we left the theater, we're out in the lobby, and I look around and my son John, who's like 5, and he's standing with his hands on his hips, and he's really angry. And I said, John, what's wrong? And he said, Dad, he said, I can understand why nobody recognizes you, because they put you in dark hair and they put glasses on you and they put you in a hat, but said they should recognize me. Little 5-year-old kid.
Where did you see it, Ned?
I wonder if I saw some kind of put together before we left there. I couldn't get over how beautiful it was. Just visually beautiful. It was gorgeous.
Tell us about the first time you saw the movie.
There was a screening, a special screening of the picture at Warner Brothers. And Clint Eastwood was there, and Jack Nicholson was there, and my dad was there. My dad and mom had come out to visit me, and we didn't know that this was going to be toward the end of his life. You know, he didn't live very much longer. He was in a car accident that took his life. But he was there, and my father was the person who introduced me to film. He took my mom and my 2 brothers and I to films, all sorts of films, when we were 5, 6, and 7 years old, and we saw just about everything that was made at that time, and they were great films at that time. You know, this is the 40s. So he was a big expert on films and acting. Spencer Tracy was his guy, and he came out of the film, and I didn't know what he was going to say. And I was a little nervous. I said, "So, Dad, what do you think?" And he said, "Boy, it's a hit." And he was a great character, my dad. Wonderful guy. But that was a kind of imprimatur on it. It was like saying, "That's it." And sure enough, it was a big hit. And I remember seeing it in the theaters several times with audiences. And it was wonderful to see it with audiences. And then getting the news that people were around the block. It was so nice.
Yeah.
It was, you know, it was being received so nicely. What about you?
I went with Brenda Vaccaro, and I was sharing it with her, and it was such a warm, good feeling that I had about the movie, about all of you, of course.
What was her reaction? I mean, did she?
She was, well, she was really blown away by it.
Yeah.
She said, "You may never be this good again." And I didn't know she really meant it.
We got to do something special. I mean, let's face it. And I think, I thought we did it pretty damn well. I mean, I really thought we did it pretty damn well. I can't remember going home at night and laying there with my pillow my head on the pillow and saying, you know, why did he do that? Or why did she, you know, I don't remember that at all.
That's right.
All actors do the same thing, I think, is go home and reshoot everything that they shot that day. And there are moments when you go, oh, you know, really jarring. But I didn't have any of those moments.
No, I sure didn't.
I'll tell you what I think that I brought away from this film more than anything is I've never been as close to 3 other guys other than my brothers in my life. And I think it's that we knew we were involved in something really kind of remarkable and that we went through it together. In some ways, it feels like when we've all gone through that together, it creates a bond. Because as we know, we sometimes go 3 or 4 years without seeing each other. And then when we get back together, it's as though we've never been apart.